Hello students, today we're going to finish exploring Vertex Form. Make sure you have the work that we did in class today and write everything down that I ask you to write down, or you will not receive full credit for taking the notes. At the end, make sure you take the survey. Alright, so I want you to look at your notes. These are the problems you did in class. You did one, your partner did the other, so go ahead and check your answers. The vertex form is written at the top up here, right underneath the standard form. Here's what the graph should look like, your actual vertex of the graph, and then what you should have as a translation. If you don't have something right, make sure you change it, and make sure you're looking at the correct equation that you did, because you only did one of these. Pause it if you need more time to look at this one. Here's number 2. Again, vertex form is written underneath the standard form. What your graph should look like, about your vertex, and your translation. And number 3, vertex form, your vertex, what your graph should look like. Alright, now let's go back and look at each one of these. Specifically, we're going to focus on looking at the vertex and the vertex form of the graph. Alright, so our goal is to figure out what's the relationship between vertex form and the actual vertex of the graph. So we're looking at the number 1s here. Let's take a look at the left side first. You don't need to write anything down, but please make sure you're paying attention so you understand what we're doing here. So, if you take a look at this first one, we have y equals x minus 1 squared minus 2. So let's look at this number inside the parentheses first. We have a negative 1 up here. Alright, now this negative 1, if we look down in the actual vertex, we have a positive 1. So the opposite of negative 1 came down here to our vertex, positive 1, which is what we graphed on the x-axis. Alright, and then we go down to our translation and it says it goes to the right 1. Well, that makes sense. If we have a positive 1, we go to the right. Alright, let's take a look at the number on the outside of the parentheses. So we have a negative 2 in the equation, and then we have a negative 2 for our vertex, which we went down 2 to graph that, and then our translation is down 2. So as you can see, the number inside the vertex was just the opposite for the vertex in the translation, and the number on the outside was exactly the same as the vertex in the translation. Let's see if this holds true for another one. So let's go over here and look at the right side. We have a negative 2. So you can see again in the vertex is the opposite of negative 2, which is positive 2. And then to go positive 2, we would go to the right. Now the number on the outside was a negative 4, and we see that that negative 4 stayed true in the vertex, and the negative 4 would mean we go down 4, which would be the same in the translation. Alright, so we see these similarities and differences in the 3 things that we're looking at here, but they all tie together in some way. So let's look at your number 2s and see if it holds true again. So on the inside of the parentheses, we have a negative 2. The x value of the vertex was a positive 2, and again we went to the right, because positive 2 would mean we go to right. The number on the outside was a positive 4, in the vertex it was a positive 4, and we went up 4, because if it's a positive, we go up. Alright, let's look at it one more time. We have a positive 2 on the inside, the x value is the opposite, which is a negative 2, and to go negative 2 we would go to the left. And then the number on the outside is a positive 1. In the vertex, it's also a positive 1. And to go positive 1, we would go up 1. Alright, so let's look at an example. What I need you to do on your paper, below what you've already done, is write down this equation and sketch the graph. If you need more time to do this, go ahead and hit pause. This is what you need to have tomorrow when you come into class though. Alright, so we have y equals x minus 4 squared minus 2. So, just like before, let's try to graph this function just by thinking about what we just learned. So we have this number on the inside of the parentheses, which is a negative 4. On the last 4 examples, the number on the inside of the parentheses was our x value, and it was always the opposite of what we have. So our x value, the opposite of negative 4, is going to be a positive 4. So in our vertex, positive 4 would be our x value. Now the number on the outside of the variable, or the equation, was our y value, and that was the same sign. So since it's a negative 2 on here, then our y value is going to be a negative 2. Alright, so if we graph this, we're going to start at 0, 0, and we go to the right 4, because it's a positive 4, and down 2, because it's a negative 2. And then we just draw the U shape, the parabola. Again, you need to have the equation written down, the vertex written down, this graph, and the sketch of the graph in order to get full credit. Let's look at another example. Again, write this equation down and sketch the graph real quick. If you need more time to do this, go ahead and hit pause. Alright, so let's graph this based on what we just learned. The number on the inside of the parentheses, again, is the x value, and it's always the opposite of what we have. So we have a positive 3 on the inside, so the opposite of positive 3 would be negative 3. So our x value of our vertex is negative 3. The number on the outside of the parentheses, now notice here we have a number on the outside over here, but it's always this following number, this adding or subtracting. So it's a positive 1, so we're going to go with the opposite and go with it. No, I'm sorry, we're going to go with the same, and it's a positive 1. The only thing that's opposite is the x value. The y value stays how it is. So in order to graph this, we would go to the left 3 and up 1, and that would be our vertex. And then we just draw a U shape. Again, you need to have the equation written down, the vertex written down, the graph, and the sketch of the graph in order to get full credit. Alright, you need to write this down. This is very important. Vertex form is going to look like this, which is what we've been looking at, except it's all letters now. So y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. Alright, so we're going to look at a couple things. The h and the k is your vertex. So h comma k is your vertex. The h, remember, is always a liar because it's always the opposite of whatever it says. So we always say h is a liar because whatever it says up here, it's always the opposite in the equation or in the vertex. And then we're going to say k tells the truth because k's value is always the same as it is in the equation. So it's a positive k, so it's going to be a positive k down here. So h is a liar, k tells the truth. That's just a little way to help you remember that h is not telling the truth. H is a liar. Alright, so if we recap real quick. So we want to find the vertex in standard form by doing negative b over 2a, then substitute it back in, just like you did in class today and like we've been doing for a couple weeks now to graph an equation. To write it in vertex form, you just substitute the opposite of the x value into the h spot and the same, the y value, because k is a truth teller, in the k spot. Remember, h is a liar, k tells the truth. And then in order to find the translation, you're going to look at the vertex. That's where it goes up and over. Remember, h is a liar though, so whatever your h value is, it's the opposite. Alright, so don't forget, make sure you have everything written down that you're supposed to have written down. Take the survey right now. Remember, that's part of your 10 points for your grade. And bring your questions to class tomorrow. Here's the survey questions if you would like to write them down. If you cannot see them on your phone, go ahead and submit them into the survey.